Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Caitlin, and I will be the moderator. Today, we are going to hear from Jennifer Rodriguez, the manager of corporate quality systems at QuVa Pharma, about her company's experience leveraging a unified quality and manufacturing platform. We'll then go into a brief discussion with Katie Farley, our Senior Director of Product Management for MasterControl Manufacturing Excellence, before we finish this session with a Q&A from the audience. What you'll see here is a brief overview of what we will cover today. But before we get started, let's cover a few housekeeping items. If you need any assistance during today's broadcast, there is a chat function at the bottom of your screen. Please send us a message there and we will work to resolve any issues. There is also a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please use that to ask questions during today's webinar. Please feel free to ask questions anytime, but we will have a dedicated Q&A after the presentation. With that said, I will hand it over to Jennifer.
Okay, so I'm going to start with an introduction of QuVa Pharma. So QuVa Pharma is a leader in FDA. We are a 503B compounding facility. We specialize on sterile to sterile portfolio, and we have plenty of products for choice. We provide ready-to-use sterile injectable products and are essential to hospital pharmacies. So our customers are not the end user, are hospitals. Providing this service to the hospitals will improve safety, the quality of the patient care, because the hospitals now, they focus on the patient. They leave us to prepare the medicine for them. We increase confidence and operational efficiency and higher levels of compliance. Our products go from syringes, IV bags, tabs, PCAs, bulk bags, and several more. Just to give you an idea of the company I work for, we have been in business for 8 years. We have 2,700 active monthly customers. We have around 1,400 batches per month, more than 65,000 completed records in MES or EBR. We have 4 production facilities. We have, actually that number is now higher. We have around 1,300 employees right now. We have more than 150 SKUs in production. So just to give you an idea of the SKUs, is all of the portfolio of the products. And for MES, that has a huge impact. We have more than 300 square meters of manufacturing capacity, and we have 17 million data entries on MES annually. So the journey of the company has been a quick journey. We started with 80 employees and 8 years ago, and now, as you notice, we are more than 1,300. So there is a lot of processes that need to be controlled, a portfolio that is large, and an urgency from our customers to deliver products to the levels of quality that is needed. So what are the challenges of a disconnected system? We're going to talk about the disadvantages of having a quality system in one platform and then MES or EBR in another one. When we started using MasterControl for quality, we have our procedures, training, and processes in one system. And then manufacturing, our batch records was in paper. So there was a big disconnect. We have one system that was giving us all of the information as soon as we needed it and in controlled manner. Then we have a paper process to handle, as you notice, all of these SKUs, and it didn't provide the controls we needed. So we had several issues on GDP, so good documentation practices. When you are using a paper batch record, there is no controls. paper can handle everything. You can write anything you want there. So simple things as operators just signing in and putting the date, it was a challenge. Audit trails, really hard to follow an audit trail in paper. As the operators try to be organized and you can put footnotes or adding extra paper to a batch record still is not clear, it's not legible. It's a challenge. So you have one process that is complicated, is not readily accessible. The templates to manage that portfolio, we have around 200 templates. So to update, to make improvements to that template was an uphill battle. Storage. Just think about the amount of money just wasted in papers, human resources, just to print and prepare these binders to give to the floor. Calculations. So these disconnected systems, having in one that is efficient, that was quality, and then one that it was paper, trying to scan these, you cannot really do any data analysis. How are you going to control the quality events? As you complete your batch records in paper, there might be situations when you have to raise an incident or you want to pull a process that you have in your batch. You will have to do that in paper. So you will have a system that is electronic, and then you will have to print that to attach it to your batch record so you have at least one packet together. So these two systems are really, it's not efficient to have it like that. Also, the load release process. At the end of this paper batch record, there is a team that reviews all of the information. This quality team has to go through all of the steps because there is no automatic process that it will prevent an operator to maybe skip a step or maybe don't document the things correctly. Verification of competency. In paper, you will have to run reports, everything is manual. So there is definitely a huge gap. A lot of companies, what they decide is, oh, it doesn't matter. Even though maybe you have two systems, we're going to integrate them. Okay, so you have quality in system A, you have batch records in system B. Not a problem. Integration. Yes, integration has its benefits, and I understand we cannot have everything in one system. As every company, you use maybe a enterprise resource system, an ERP, and this system might not be part of the EBR and the QMS. And on those situations, integration, yes, I understand it can be a benefit. But when you're trying to have different processes of a company, things that are so related as a quality process and manufacturing in different systems, and just think about integration, it's a challenge. Why? There are three areas that I highlight in this slide, which are security, upgrades, and cost. Security. Now you understand your process in one system, and you have put a security in place. You have firewalls. Maybe as we did with MasterControl, we knew the system was secure. Now you have another system in another platform B that you are opening a door. So now you have to ensure that system B is secure as your system A. So you are making your information more vulnerable to the new channel, because now you're opening the doors. That's the reason of the castle. So if you look at a medieval castle, we have all of these gates, all of these boundaries to prevent attack. And now we are actually putting a bridge to come up and put another system. So you are opening your system through integration. Upgrade. In any system, you're going to have a time when you're going to do upgrade, you're going to do maintenance. If you have these two big processes, quality and manufacturing, two different systems, you might have downtime on different times. You're going to affect your users twice. And you're going to have to go through different processes to control those upgrades in System A and System B. So think about validation. Think about your company doing verification of all of these upgrades if you have two systems. So it's two challenges instead of having everything in one. And cost. Just to integrate, there is going to be a cost involved for your API, for your validation, for all of the resources you're going to consume internally and for both systems. So there is definitely challenges on integration. Now we're going to talk about the end user experience. If you have two systems, and in our case, if we have quality with MasterControl, and then at the years ago when we had the the batch record in paper, the end user experience is totally different. You have one user that is comfortable using your computer to get documents, complete training, go through processes, and then you're going to tell them, okay, to go to this process, paper or system B. So now you have to train that person to go to another system when you already have your employees familiar with a system. Then you're going to have to train them, give them the time to get familiar with the system, and then you're going to start reaping the benefits. So think about this uphill of going with two systems instead of one when you can just train your workforce at once. Also, human beings by default are resistant to change. So if you won the battle to implement one system, why are you going to lose all of that benefit already and just use the same system? Where are you going to bring another one and start again from scratch? And it's also confusing because now you're going to have two systems, different logins, different way to get information. The operators should focus on your process. Your company we are not in the business of learning new systems. We are in the business of science, of providing medicine to end users, and learning new systems is not one of them. Another big aspect of having two systems is regulatory compliance. When you onboard a system in your company, the first thing you need to do is audit, ensure all of these regulations are in compliance. So this is one of our big areas in the company, and we call it House of Quality. And it gives you an idea of, and it's going to be similar to your companies. You're going to have big agencies as FDA, DEA, Board of Pharmacies, with specific rules for all of your systems. If you have already onboarded one system and you know it's compliant and you have all of this evidence and all of the documentation to face an inspector, why are you going to do this again? And maybe not feeling comfortable in front of an inspector when you have a second system. So these are the challenges when you think about implementing quality and manufacturing, which are two keys in any company, in different systems. Having one system, and if you already know that system is compliant, it makes your life easier. Think about also the teams within your company that face these inspectors. If the inspector has already records of the system you use and they know they are FDA compliant, I'm sure the next time they don't want to ask you the same thing because they know, well, you use MasterControl. We know this compliant. We know that it's a fully validated system. We know they have audit trail. We know they are 21 CFR compliant. So there is a huge list of things that you already completed. No need to start again. One of the things that I would recommend is measure your current process. Create a value stream and map your processes. Think about what are your daily waste. So we did that when we were planning to go from a paper system to an electronic. So we map all of these processes of, we're going to start with, this is the lot that we're going to prepare. The person, the next thing that needs to print all of these batch records, prepare these elements, forms, clearance cards, these all of additional elements on the batch record, and provide this to the floor. And all of these tasks that don't add value to your customer are waste. So all of these things can be a good tool to show your upper management why a good electronic system to manage MES or QX is definitely a huge win. When we were going through this mapping of our process, we noticed the blue boxes are the things that we were doing in paper. And if we moved to an electronic system, it became the yellow ones. So if you notice just right there on the screen, the benefits of having these process in electronic systems are huge. So make sure what you have right now, and make sure also the situation of having two systems, because when you want to bring this information and when you want to provide metrics, how many other processes that don't add any value to the customer you are actually performing, because now you have two systems or you have a paper system, as the situation that we had. Another important element is understand your audience. So we did that with all of the key departments in the company. So we start with finance. So, okay, what is the disadvantage of having two systems? Understand what are the pain points for them, because that's how you can actually face them and show them the benefit of having two systems in one. So think about, for them, for finance, system cost. So if you're going to have two processes, quality and manufacturing, in one system, there is synergy. So the cost is going to be less than having two independent systems, in addition to, as we talk about, integration and all of things. IT doesn't want to have another project, so APIs that have to be configured, APIs that have to be maintained, APIs that have to be validated and ensure they are secure. There is maintenance, and again, cost and personnel that has to be involved in that. Manufacturing, end user experience. So for operations, their key is their operators. If they are really trained, if they are familiar, for them it's definitely easier to have one. And compliance, quality, as we were talking, all of the regulations that we need to comply with, it's better to have one system that we feel confident it can go through an inspection. So understand each department, because that can give you the key. So now we're going to talk about how bringing quality and manufacturing together can impact QuVa. When we decided to put both systems, quality and manufacturing, MES and QX, in one platform, one of the key benefits is analytics. So everything is in one place. So we can have reports, we're going to have insights, huge benefit of that, dashboard, data access at any time from both systems, and everybody is familiar with the system. They can access the information at any time. Quality events is a big benefit of having MES and QX in one. So for us, it was key to track incidents. As I was describing before, having a paper system, if, for example, you run an IR or a deviation, there was a system, we had MasterControl, it was electronic, but then quality was reviewing a paper batch record. So they would have to run reports on an electronic system to understand what is the status on this. Meanwhile, they were flipping pages, verifying the step where that IR deviation was generated. So it's a huge disconnect when you're trying to use one process in one system and another one in a system B. If you have both in one, as I'm showing here, this is an example of dummy tool EBR from our system. It shows the status of the quality event. So in this case, when we launched an incident in this step, it clearly shows the status. So we are in incident initiation. It highlights the number of the form that you launched because this was not compliant with the steps that we describe in this EBR, and it's just a click. So the operator and the reviewer, when they go through this EBR, they can quickly see the quality event that occurred. So they don't have to go to system A and find the status of this. Meanwhile, they are in system B trying to finish the batch records. So everything is integrated. You can see the status of all of these processes that were launched, which is key because at the end of the process, you want to release the lot and send the medicine to the hospital immediately. So tracking the status and where was generated, who generated that form, the time, and all of these details, it was a huge benefit. It saved a lot of time. Document management. So for us, having MasterControl managing the batch record provides us a benefit of using the same structure of documents. So both things are info cards. So our teams, when they are in front of an inspector, the same way as they find quickly an SOP or a work instruction and provide this to an inspector, they are also familiar with the same platform. It's an info card, they can quickly find it, print the PDF, and provide that. So that was immediate. We didn't have to train a new team about a new system because they were already comfortable doing that because we were using the same system. So the benefits of having a quick search to find documents, SOPs, and forms was the same for EBRs. Retrievable can be immediate. We don't have to run a script to get a copy of an EBR. It works the same. So that was just a given benefit of having QX and MX in one. The other one is in-process training checks. If you have a paper system and I try to ensure my operator is trained before they perform the task, I'm running reports on a daily basis. And let's be real, nobody runs a report on a daily basis. So you have controls and you have metrics, and companies have departments just focus on ensuring that the personnel is competent to perform the task. But this is manual, and this is not automatically enforced by the system if you have a paper system to manage your batch records and an electronic system to manage your training. So your training can work excellent in MasterControl as we did at the beginning, but then you have a batch record that is in paper that they will have to run reports to ensure this before they run or they complete the step. If you have a single platform, the verification is done automatically. Right at the moment when operator is completing the step, the system goes and checks that. You cannot do that if you have two different systems. If you have your training in one platform and then your batch record in another one, you will have to do an integration. There is a gap there, maybe a delay of the information. It's going to be harder to configure. This is simple. You state the requirements for the step you want them to be qualified, and then the system does it for you. As I was describing, and its connected system is you are going to have to depend on people manually running train reports and doing a lot of effort and a lot of daily waste, as we notice on the map I show, that is no value added to the system. Another of the tools that are for MES and for our batch records was projections. If you look at a batch record in paper, if a person in step B needs to know what happened on a previous step, they will have to flip the pages and check what happened in step A. With projections, you can show that result on step A in any area of your batch record. And that is, you think maybe it's simple, but when we have 100 pages of batch record, and if the operator is just using their time flipping on pages and looking at values and trying to copy paste or doing calculations, it's not efficient. With projections, the data is right there. You project the number that they want to verify, and it pulls it automatically. There is no need for someone to flip pages. So this is a tool that drives quality. We don't want to depend on someone's memory or maybe putting sticky notes a number and then flipping the pages to put the number on a phase or a step that is maybe beyond the one that they are performing. Another huge benefit of having EBR in MES is calculations. So the operators shouldn't be doing all of these mathematical operations when they should be focused is in the quality of the product. Yes, you can provide calculators, you can provide extra pages for them, but that shouldn't be. They need to focus is in the quality of the product they're preparing. So for us, this area was a huge win, as these maybe simple operations will be just adding, but it's so easy that the operator can make a mistake, can maybe incorrectly add a number or not put in the information correctly. So calculations is another big benefit of EBR. Review by exception, it's another area where we had big wins. At the end of the batch record, as I was describing in paper, they will have to review every single step to ensure they were completed. With MES, that is automatically done. The operator cannot move to the next if they haven't completed the previous, and you can put the prerequisites any way you want. Also, at the end of the review by exception, this is a summary for the team that releases your lot, which shows which steps were corrected, which steps were failed or passed. Attachments, you can ensure things that maybe they have to take a picture or a copy of measuring weight or verification can be attached. You can verify it in one single section instead of finding the paper on a binder or looking at how many times these steps fail and looking at corrections. On corrections is critical for them to be legible. We have to understand the before and after value. Who made the correction? When the correction was made? The notes of that correction. The history and the audit trails on MES is clear, is simple, and it can be found in a quickly area for the review by exception. It saves a lot of time. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the presentation for the metrics. Talk about this QuVa Pharma real world results. So after these two implementations, just to give you an idea of some of the wins and translated into money, which may be really interesting for your CFO, is how many times your operators perform a calculation. So measure that. So it's wasting time of operators doing that. How many times they have in a table, they have to sum up all of these values. How many minutes do they spend? It doesn't seem much, but when you add up So think about the amount of batches we release daily and the amount of SKUs and all of these templates being completed and the size of our batch records, let's say 100 pages. The steps, if you multiply the number of steps for the minutes they take to perform these activities, these are some of the savings. And these, we were just really conservative because I'm sure this time might be even more for some of the calculations we have in the system. Time and date during calculations. It's simple as that, as the operator just signing and data. It takes time and it gets more complicated at the end of the year because it seems to be everybody forgets we're in the next. So all of the corrections, all of that, it takes time. Condition and paths. So depending on the result or the entry on one of the steps, we can automatically enable steps after that. We can enable whole sections. And that's a huge win. Before, the operator will have to put a line across the page, enable it, sign and date, put the reasons. This is automatically now in MES. So if you multiply all of these steps, this is what we did, and these are some of the gains. It's huge. We had, and this is based on 450 operators, which we had more, and 150 product SKUs, and 1,400 batches per month. So if you show these, that will be a good conversation to have with your teams, with your accounting teams. Another huge win for us at the end of this project was operational efficiency. I described in paper we have around 200 templates. And then we went from around 2 months, and I was conservative on that. That was the time it took us to update one of those templates. So think about this, a CAPA. You have a process to improve a process, or an inspection. There was something that you need to fix immediately, or a deviation. If for some reason you have to update every single template, which happened to us, we have to update 200 templates. It took us 2 months to update it. If that's the state where you are, it's hard to improve your process because nobody wants to go through the hassle. It's painful. We went from 200 to 10 templates because of all of these benefits I was showing before. Having product families, and I'm going to have a slide on that, and this automatic configuration of values, your templates are dynamic. So now you don't have these static 200 paper templates. You have now 10 dynamic templates that now it takes only 2 weeks to update. So the company is actually agile. We are quickly improving our processes, and people is actually motivated to change it because it's not a painful process. And based on that, we have 322 master template revisions. So it just shows the company is moving as fast as the world is moving. So we have to keep up. As I was explaining, the dynamic processes, product families allow for that. So in a MES, one template can be enough for 40, 50 SKUs. And this is actually one of our examples of our templates. So that's, as I said, 200 to 10. So one setting that before had to be configured in 2 different templates, now is one because it's dynamic. At the moment you are setting up your SKUs and you are giving value to all of these conditions or categories of your product or process, it gets automatically assigned, and that gives you a template instead of having a huge list of static templates. So Product families and SKU configuration is a tool that we are using on a regular basis, and it makes our templates really dynamic. Another metric that we track after we completed the project was on-time delivery. As I was describing, when the department that releases the process is not flipping pages, but instead it has a nice review by exception page with the summary of what happened in that batch record, it spends less time. So before the on-time delivery was affected by that, because even though maybe the product was ready, the team was not done with their verification. So think about that. The company has already a product ready for your customer, but because of your quality controls and maybe they are in paper, you cannot release that because you have to ensure everything is completed and we have to ensure the quality has been done. With a review by exception, the way we are doing it in MES, it helps us, our team, to release the product much quickly. So I have 3 takeaways from this presentation. So the first thing is to measure. Measure the impact of existing process to determine if moving toward digital tools will benefit your company. So do a process map, do a value-added map, identify your wastes. The second is a single platform solution for quality management and manufacturing execution benefits the entire organization. So it's not just about quality. It's not about, okay, I'm talking about because I work for quality systems. No, it's a benefit for your accounting. It's benefit for your IT team. It's a benefit for your operation team. We are improving data integrity. We are streamlining operations because now actually quality and manufacturing are becoming an integrated team. Just using one platform, we are becoming more efficient and we are improving delivery. That at the end is a key element. Another important element is that data is a critical component of quality manufacturing to understand what works and what needs to be improved. So at the end, again, measure, identify what has been the wins after all of this implementation, and I know you're going to have a good story to share.
Jennifer, thank you so much. It was so great to hear your perspective from the quality side of QuVa. So I'm representing the production records MX product on the product team at MasterControl and would love to just dive into a few kind of product related questions with you for the next couple of minutes. So you talked a lot about product families, really great to see that template reduction of 200 to 10. That's amazing. For a company like QuVa 503B, you guys have a lot of customers. It sounds like almost 3,000 customers. How does these capabilities that you talked about help manage all of the different variations and products that you guys have and different requests that are coming from your customer base?
Yes, having product families, it makes the template dynamic. And it's hard to put that into a concept when you think, oh, my template is dynamic. So the first thing that maybe quality thinks is just fear. Oh, but now we have to control it. It's control. So when you configure that in a MES template, you have a metric and your values are controlled and actually live within the template. So they are dynamic because at the moment of the execution, depending on the SKU, all of your values think about your characteristics of your product are taken based on that. If you have a paper batch record, you cannot do that. You have to actually create and design each one depending on maybe little adjustments. For us, sometimes a different template will be because we have a BUD that is different from one to another one. But 99% of the steps were the same, and just one value was different in one step. And instead of taking value 60 days, BUD is 90 days. So just for that, think about that it was a full template that they will have to maintain and change. So yeah, product families is not only the reduction that we had from 200 to 10, but all of the products are coming up. So even we have more SKUs, we just keep adding them to the ones we have. So far, after all of these months that we have been live, we actually haven't created any other template, which I'm really happy, because if, for example, we have a change that we want to implement in all the catalog, we can do it just using 10 templates instead of a large number. And so yeah, for what we had, but even for the upcoming requests from more products, product families has been a huge tool.
That's great. That's exactly the idea. We love to hear that. So even as you're getting new requests from existing or new customers, it doesn't necessarily mean a whole new template. You're able to go in and utilize the dynamic nature of the product family, and then kind of the parameters tool is similar as well. So that's great. Great to hear. You also talked a little bit about the end user experience and some of the challenges there and some of the cultural and process changes that need to take place in order to really implement successfully a new system. What recommendations would you have for someone who's considering a unified approach to quality and manufacturing from the end user perspective?
I think the recommendation I have is they have to involve your user in this process. We don't configure templates for our quality systems department. So think about, even though quality is the one that has to ensure your process is controlled and is compliant, think about your operator. They have to put themselves even in the environment they are. So think about they are in our case, in a clean room. They are fully gowned. They have to be so focused on complete their task accurate. Do they have time to worry about learning a new system? Do they have the mindset to, okay, now that I feel comfortable using MasterControl to, read my procedures, now you're going to come up with another system. So think about also the ease of use at the time they have. Instead of using your operator to learn a new system, it might be more, is the money is spent on that is better on the product, because that's your business, instead of having all of your workforce learning a new system. And for the operators, they have to be focused on the product. Quality and the person that is on the desk, maybe they have a little bit more time maybe to learn a new system, but even though that is not a well use of your resources. So having a unified platform, it makes your end users a little bit more willing to accept a new implementation.
Yeah, no, those are great points. I think it also brings to light how important it is to evaluate a really intuitive user experience, right? That it's something that people can jump in and, to your point, not require time and resources, actually training and getting caught up to speed on how do I use this really complex software application where I was previously just using paper. So great points there. I also loved your comment about how we really want the operators and the end users just focused on the quality of the product, right? Not chasing paper or verifying calculations. That's really not a good use of their time. And a digital system can obviously help with that. Are there any particular features in MasterControl that you found that end users have really liked or been receptive to?
The quality events, the tracking of the quality events in the review by exception has been a big win. Having a quick preview, and it's clear, they don't have to run an extra report, because majority of the systems, think about this, they have like a dashboard. I don't need a dashboard. I just want one screen that gives me all of the things I need. And you can actually display it depending on the needs of your team. So you can actually customize those tiles in a good way for them to review your lot quickly. because the amount of logs we release daily, it doesn't allow us to take our time running dashboards, maybe chasing people to know what is the status of it. If they have, imagine a paper system. Oh, did you close that kappa? Can I release the deviation? You don't have time for that. So one screen with all of the key elements that in our case, our log dispo team needed has been a big win.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely something that would be nearly impossible in paper, right? To have that reporting and the live visibility into those important aspects. So we talked about QuVa has a lot of customers, an impressive number of customers. Have you found that these capabilities that you've talked about with the MES and the QMS, have they helped you stay competitive in the field? And is there any particular integration or feature that stands out there?
Yeah, I think parameters is definitely a new feature and that we are hoping to implement soon. As we are improving our templates and upgrading them as depending on all of the processes improvement that we have in the company. But yes, it's a big win because if you have parameters and you have product families and you are making changes on these, it's a simple tweaks that you are doing in one area that even on, for example, if you're using global elements as another nice feature, that it allows that to be applied on different templates. So it is beneficial when you have new requirements, not only from customers, but from maybe agencies, FDA come up with a new regulations, or you want to improve your processes and keep up with your competitors because everybody's trying to deliver your product faster and with the same high level of quality. So yes, and if we get more customers and we are adding more SKUs and we have to deliver more products, maybe with the same amount of people, definitely we need systems because that's the only way that everything can be dynamic using the same amount of people. If you have paper, you will have to, hire a full team just to handle the amount of paper and track all of these processes.
Yeah, it's really the only way to scale effectively. Caitlin, do we have time for one more on my side, or should we pass it back to you for the audience Q&A?
We do have a couple questions from the audience, but I think that the conversation you and Jennifer are having is so beneficial. So yeah, let's have your last question and then we can get to as many from the audience as possible.
Okay, great. Just one last one for me then, Jennifer. I've had the pleasure of working with you for many years now, so I know QuVa's been using the MX Production Records product for a while, and certainly it's not the same as when you guys first implemented it several years ago. So one thing I think our audience might be curious about, you talked earlier about the upgrades that come along with the software product. What processes does QuVa have for incorporating new features as they come out, and how are you staying up to date on all the new capabilities that are coming out in the quarterly releases?
Okay, so the first thing I have to highlight is MasterControl listens to our new requests. And I know I sent you a huge list, but they do. And even during summits, when we are talking with other tiers, we actually can share this with MasterControl. And they take into account that. And even during in the website, my team usually is adding their user voice and which list that you guys take into consideration every time you upgrade your product. You upgrade your product every quarter. So that's amazing. Because if you think about other systems, I don't think they have the same cadence. So having new features every quarter is huge because your system is actually adapting to your needs. So something that my team thought, okay, it might make my process a little bit easier if the company that is providing the software to me can deliver that in the next upgrade, I'm actually, my template is moving along the way my team needs it. And that doesn't happen to systems all the time. So how we control that, in addition to use the validation package that MasterControl provides, we do a quick verification, and we use VXT2, which is also a really good tool, and it shows really well in front of inspector, because we do validation based on risk. So we do a risk assessment, and the metrics that you provide can actually quantify that. It's not if I feel like, I actually give a number. And there is a specific criteria to evaluate those changes. So when you guys come up with these new features, we verify, we do this risk assessment, you provide change controls templates that we use and document the process. So it is simple because it's already well documented. There is presentations on the new features, so our teams actually get trained on those features using your website and your slides, which explains the new product. And because we have few templates, so every time you have a new feature, we can actually change and update our templates quickly. So yeah, everything, it actually helps it's a good synergy, I would say.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. Another value proposition of reduced templates then is the ease of making updates, especially as new valuable features and changes are coming out. So that's great. Caitlin, I'll pass it off to you for some audience questions.
I think you're muted.
I was muted. Thank you. So I think we only have time for a couple of them. But I did want to touch on a few that came in. This one's going to be for Jennifer. So this attendee is talking about how they have a QMS, and it's been really beneficial, and they are thinking about adding an EBR. They were wondering kind of what your discovery process was and how you or your teams took this up to leadership.
Yes, you definitely have to show value. So it's not, hey, I think it's good for my process because it's quality compliant. And yes, I work for quality system. It's easy to describe that. But I will say my suggestion is talk to the other teams that are going to be involved in the decision making. So talk to your accounting, talk to your IT team, because they're going to have to support this, whatever platform you use. Talk about your operations team. So that actually gives the opportunity for quality department to have a conversation with manufacturing and say, okay, what is your pain points right now? How a system that we can implement can help your process, how we can help the operator to deliver this product and make it with the standards of quality that we want to ensure. So I think that's definitely my suggestion.
Awesome, thank you. Another one for you, Jennifer, is has using MasterControl impacted quality review and just kind of overall quality of, they say product, but I feel like QuVa's always had a really high quality product. So let's focus on kind of that quality review and maybe just the review and release that you guys have to do.
Yes. As I was describing some of these metrics, on-time delivery, some of these issues that we had in paper was GDP. So small mistakes, but if you have hundreds of batches released daily, our review team had to come back to the operator and say, hey, come here, because you cannot just write it down and fix it. So we have to be compliant on those processes and get the operator to come and update an entry because maybe it was not legible. So can you imagine the impact on a simple, maybe not legible entry, maybe a missing entry? Our review team had to physically take the paper, run to our team, to operator, hey, come here and sign it. And hopefully it's going to be at the same shift, because what if it's a third shift and my review team is on first? So they have to wait next day. and get the paper to that person. And as I was describing, our operators work in clean rooms. They're fully gowned. They cannot just get out of the clean room every time they want. So there is a lot of elements that are involved in production that they should be focused on the product, and what system should help them to do this. So that is a big win when you have an AVR. So it is quality. We are making quality product because we are providing a system that enforces that quality. You cannot miss a step because the system does it for you. Does a calculation for you. So is quality already embedded on the process.
Awesome. I love that. I love the focus on quality and just manufacturing those quality products. So we have time for one more, and this is actually for both Katie and Jennifer. Katie, I'm going to have you go first, and then Jennifer kind of see what you maybe have to add. So we work in high mix manufacturing. What are some of the features of MasterControl that support high mix manufacturers? So Katie, I'm going to have you answer that first, kind of from a product level, and then Jennifer from an experience level.
Yeah, that's a great question, Caitlin. That capability is so important to the product, the ability to have, which is basically the flexibility. So the flexibility of the product is something that we are considering with everything that we're deciding to build and not build. Are we supporting that need amongst our customers of kind of high variability, potentially low volume, but not always product? And so one of the core components there is the no-code builder tool. So really the ability to fully customize your processes. And within the builder tool, we've also built in some additional capability that Jennifer spoke to very well already that really helps organizations scale, but also meet the needs that might come from clients or potentially, for example, patient-specific products, whatever the use case might be, where you have those high variability situations that require the flexibility within the product. So that would be things like the product family tool that we talked about. Some of the ones that we didn't mention today would be things like the formulation tool that helps scale batches to different quantities within one master template. We recently released earlier this year a function that we call parameters, which allows you to identify specific parameters within the master template and then enable those to be dynamic for different use cases. So just a few examples of some of the features that really enable that critical flexibility within the product.
Jennifer, do you have anything to add?
I will set on flexibility and something that maybe I didn't mention, but I think it was key. I guess because it was too easy that I forgot to mention, is learning the tool. You don't think about that, but it was my team. I'm not saying we are not programmers, so we don't write code, and we didn't take the class. Actually, we just had a 2-hour session with your team. And we just log into the dev and test environment and we start using it. I think on flexibility, in addition to all of these tools and features that we use, it's also a really easy tool to learn. So we don't have to be programmers to come up with another template. And we don't have to depend. I don't want to depend on a supplier for us to build our template, because we should be agile. If I need a template, I need it in 2 hours. I cannot wait to submit a request, come in with a URS and all of that to an external party and trying to explain them what we need. The tool should be ready for us to configure it and be so easy that we configure it fast and we can have conversations with our operators and we're showing the screen and actually they can follow it up. So it's not something that I show in the screen and everyone's like, oh my gosh, what is that? The interface is actually, it's really easy to understand where the steps and the conditions. So yes, that's something that I think on flexibility is really important.
Well, about the flexibility and the usability. So not just that you can do a lot with the system, but also that folks can come in and use it really quickly instead of taking a long time to train on it or having to use a third party to rebuild things or add things or modify things. I love that. All right, well, we are at time, and I want to thank Jennifer and Katie for taking the time today to talk with us a little bit more about, MasterControl. And Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your experience. We will have this on demand soon, so you will be notified when that happens. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And again, thank you so much, Jennifer and Katie.